Hello, and welcome to another edition of Legacy Building with AV. Today, we have the pleasure of having Rodney with us. So, we just ask before we begin that you make sure you click the subscribe button, make sure you follow and share this link with as many people as possible. We're here highlighting people's stories, and we feel like it's cool, it's fun. You get to know the inside stories of how to do things, how to learn things, and hopefully, it's something that brings you value. With that being said, hi, Ronnie, how are you?
Hello, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing today?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Like we appreciate it so much. You don't even know. Um, and with that being said, like tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Rodney. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. I lived there most of my life, and then uh, Hurricane Katrina hit. That was in 2005. I ended up moving to Texas, finishing high school in Texas, and went to the Marine Corps right out of high school. I'm talking like probably like a month after I graduated high school, I was in the Marine Corps. So I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I love all things aviation. I was a helicopter mechanic while I was in the Marine Corps. Growing up, I grew up around aviation. Like my best friend, his dad was a pilot, so I was exposed to it as a young age. So I love everything aviation, everything that flies, birds, kites, any butterflies, anything that flies in the sky. I love it. Um, and I love knowledge, and I think that's kind of what led me not into aviation, but kind of down this path of okay, so I'm doing something that's different. Yeah, it might be challenging. There might be some like challenging spots down that road here and there, but just having access to information, having resources, people to pick up the phone and call, or people that I'm around every day, and asking questions, right? Seeking guidance and counsel and gaining that information, it kind of made the challenge worthwhile. Not necessarily any easier, but it made it worthwhile. And so that's who I am. I love aviation. I love things that fly. I love information. And I guess you could say I love a challenge.
So what inspired that? Was it like a mentor that you sought out? Did you know from when you were younger you were going to be interested in aviation? Because you said you love all things flying, right? So you could have ended up studying the sciences of like birds, insects, things like that. But
Yeah.
you went for, and people have a fear of heights. So you went for the actual more challenging route of becoming how would you describe what you do or what you want to do?
Yeah. So what I do and how I got into it. So I'm a pilot. As of now, I'm a professional pilot. So I recently got hired as a contract pilot a month ago, maybe like 5 weeks ago. So
Nice.
my first pilot job, so I'm really excited about that. And so I'm a commercial pilot. I have a single engine commercial pilot's license, multi engine commercial pilot's license. I'm instrument rated on both single and multi engine. I also have a helicopter private pilot license. I'm an advanced ground instructor, so I can teach all the things on the ground as regarding aviation or going to get some pilot rating or license. And I'm also a airframe and power plant mechanic. So I'm, certified by the Federal Aviation Administration or the FAA to work on work on aircraft, helicopters, airplanes, whatever. And I'm also an aircraft inspector. So I have inspection authorization. And what that allows me to do is inspect these aircraft and get paid to do it. Now, how I got into it. So when I was a kid, my best friend from first grade, we're like 5 years old. I would go over to his house and he had this flight simulator. So he had all the flight controls like set up at the computer desk. And this was like 1996. And so, we would fly on the flight simulator on the computer. It was his dad's, but we would always get on it, every chance that we got. And we would just fly on the simulator, come up with all these scenarios and have use our imagination to pretend like we're going somewhere or doing something, but except we're like flying on the simulator. And his dad was a pilot, and ironically, I ended up not flying with him and his dad for the first time until I was 14, even though we were, flying on the simulator since we were 5 and 6. And I always I always had this like kind of like bug in the back of my mind about flying because it was different, it was intriguing. It was something I thought was pretty cool, but I didn't. The only experience I had of it was on the simulator, and so that kind of kept me going because I was like, man, like what can I do or how can I, get to an airport or get to an airplane to experience it in real life. So I always kind of had this knack for it since I was exposed to it as a kid.
So I'm trying to figure out how you get into playing with flight simulators instead of PlayStation.
Yeah. So now,
That's
like,
good.
right. So as a kid growing up in New Orleans, right? Like, yeah, I had PlayStation, Nintendo. I had a Dreamcast. So I was playing video games, right? But at the same time, again, man, like because I was exposed to something different, and I basically got hooked on it, and it was something that was very intriguing. Like it hooked me, got me hooked, and it was something that was different. Like nobody ever came to me and talked to me about airplanes, or nobody came to me and introduced me to it. But like as a 6-year-old kid, you go over to your friend's house to play, and you see this rig set up at this computer screen and you're like, whoa, what's this? And then, from the first time that I ever tried it and flew on that simulator, I was like, man, like this is crazy. Like this is different. And so even as a young kid, I knew that that was just like a simulation aspect of actually flying an airplane, right? Even though I didn't know nothing about airplanes, I probably didn't even know the word simulator at that time, but I knew there was this connection, or in my case, this disconnect between flying on the simulator and experiencing the aviation and like trying to figure out how to do it in real life. And so that always like I just remember as a kid, like that was always something that I was thinking about a lot because it was like I was so close to it, yet far away because I didn't know how to like I don't know get into an airplane and go do it. And then to rub it in, I would my house was right by the lakefront airport in New Orleans. So it's the airport right on the lakefront. It's the airport I even fly into now. Like if I go fly home to see my family or something, I'll go fly into Lakefront Airport. And I would always drive across this bridge right by Lakefront Airport on the way to school, back and forth from my house. Like my dad's driving me as a kid. And man, to think like, okay, there's an airport. I see it every day. I see airplanes flying there. I'm by my friend's house flying on the simulator. So it's like I'm real close to it, but I just got to connect all the dots now. And that was a lot of fuel to this whole, all right, what can I do? Where can I go? Who can I talk to figure out the next step to, getting to the bottom of this itch of like I want to see what an airplane looks like in real life. I want to fly an airplane in real life for the first time. And like I said, it wasn't until I was 14 until I flew with my friend and his dad in the airplane for the first time. So it was a long time. It was a long time coming before I actually got that initial real world experience. And I knew as a kid, I always knew I wanted to like pursue that and see it through. But then when I got that first flight, that was just like the icing on the cake. It was like, all right, the deal is sealed, it's done. I'm gonna be a pilot. And even though the decision was made, I had no idea, no plan on how to actually achieve it, get it done. But it was a journey.
So now,
It,
so
it,
let's
it's a journey. It's
let
still.
let's speak about that journey. So now you're 14, you're in high school or approaching high school.
Yep.
What was this path of course of study, if you will, that you would take? And if the school didn't have that, what happened during college?
Yeah. So the school, my high school, certainly didn't have anything aviation, like no mechanics, no airplane, nothing. And I even though I flew with my friends and my friend and his dad that one time, that was literally the only time I ever flew with him in the airplane. He ended up selling it. I graduated high school, and so when I signed up to join the Marine Corps, one of the options that I had as a job was aviation mechanic or aircraft mechanic. And because I always knew, okay, like I'm interested in airplanes and stuff that flies, and I can do mechanic stuff. That's something I'm willing to learn how to do. I'm interested in that, so I picked that job, and then that opened like a whole new world up to me as far as aviation, aviation maintenance, learning maintenance, being in the military, being around pilots on a daily basis, being around people that fly helicopters, airplanes, and work on them every day. So that was really kind of that next step into it, because when I didn't go to college until after the military, and like again, all through high school, there was no aviation courses or classes or opportunity for me or nothing like that in school. So I basically uh, kind of forged my way into it, if you will, by just sticking around people and doing things like a job in the military that kept me in the vicinity of airplanes, helicopters, and pilots.
So there were a few defining moments. It sounds like the first time getting into the simulator, um, first time getting into the plane with your friend and his dad,
Yeah.
uh, going into the Marine Corps with intention, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
you knew what you wanted to do.
Yep.
And then the fourth would be deciding on the college.
I think the fourth. So that's a good timeline that you have noted. But I think the fourth thing would be my decision to actually like pursue my pilot's license while I was in the Marine Corps. So before I even got out of the military, one day I just, I was always thinking about it, but one day I decided, I was like, all right, man, like there's no other way to do it but just to go to the airport and talk to somebody and say, like, all right, now is the time. I have the time. I was in the military. I was working. I was saving my money. So I thought I had the money to do it. And I literally just like drove, Googled the airport where you can learn how to fly at, drove to the airport from my military base, like 40-minute drive, and talked to a flight instructor and told him, like, hey, listen, I want to learn how to fly. I want you to teach me how to fly. I think I have the money to do it. I have the time to do it. And so I started taking flying lessons, not knowing what to expect, what the normal timeline was or anything like that. I was just like diving in at head first, and started flying. And I actually didn't get my license until 2 years after I took that initial flight with the flight instructor. Um, what ended up happening was just timeline wise, I went to the airport, I met the instructor, I flew. We did that 2 times, and then I ended up like going on a deployment or something like that. And well, but when I got back from deployment, I was like, all right, went home on vacation, settled down, and then once I got back to base, that's when I really dug in and um, focused on my flight training and getting my license. So making that decision was really really pivotal because I didn't know that it was possible to do while I was in the military. I didn't have anything figured out. I just out of off a whim, out of curiosity, was like, all right, this is something that I'm interested in. I know I want to do it. I think I have the money to do it. I didn't know what I was getting into, as far as the logistics of it, or what it was going to require. But I did it. I did it, and that was the start of something huge. But at that time, it was a real um, small step in a huge process, because that's just the first license, right? Like working on getting that pilot's license, the first one. You're nowhere close to having enough certification or experience or training to go get a job or fly for some company or nothing like that. But you can once you get that first license, you're a pilot. You have a license to fly airplanes. You can fly with friends and family, um, and it's a whole new world. It's a whole new world for real.
Okay. So what were some of the challenges that you faced along the way, and how did you overcome them?
I would say I would say the main challenge was, so I got my private pilot's license before I got out of the military, and then when I got out of the military, I decided to go to college, and I used my GI Bill to pay for my college, right? So I wasn't working. I was focusing on school, and I actually earned my helicopter license while I was in school. And so because I didn't have to pay for it because I was using my GI Bill, I didn't realize the financial uphill battle that I was going to be getting into after college, right? So I got my private pilot's license for airplanes right before I got out of the military. Went straight to college. I got my helicopter license while I was in college. When I got done with that course and I decided that I wanted to keep flying, I decided I wanted to fly airplanes and pursue that further rather than helicopters. And then it was like, all right, well, now how am I going to pay for it? And it was like, oh, this is that became like a thing. So that was one of the biggest struggles was really the finances of it. And it wasn't like not from an aspect of supporting myself, food and shelter and whatnot, but it was like paying for the flight training. And I decided to leverage my experience and my skills as a aircraft mechanic that I had gained from getting trained in the military as a helicopter mechanic in the Marine Corps to I leveraged that to get my license to work on an aircraft as a civilian. So once I got that license, that was at least a way for me to, not only support myself, but then have a little bit of money on the side to be able to pursue aviation. And at the same time, because I had that license to work on airplanes, again, I'm back at the airport. I'm around pilots. I'm around airplanes. But instead of being in the military this time, now I'm out. I'm done with the military. I'm outside. I'm working as a civilian, but I'm at the airport working on airplanes, around airplanes all day, meeting and talking with pilots and stuff like that. So um, the way I overcame that challenge was I I had to become creative. Like I had to get creative, right? So flight training is relatively speaking, it's expensive to pay for on your own if you're paying out of pocket, and you just work like some regular job or typical paying job. So what I did was I started trading maintenance for flight hours, right? So I would work on people's airplanes and then they would let me fly the airplanes, their plane sometimes in trade. So instead of me like I'll change your oil instead of you paying me $300 to change your oil on your airplane. Now you just let me fly your airplane for let's say 3 hours, and then because I'm around pilots all the day all the time, I knew flight instructors. So then I would just call the flight instructor and say, "Yo, I just did an oil change on such and such airplane. I got it for 3 hours. Come fly with me." And then now this person's a flight instructor, so now they're literally teaching me how to fly, and I'm logging those hours, which counts towards my requirement to get my license. So that was one way I did it, right? Another way I did it, honestly, through applying for scholarships and grants, right? So I had the idea of scholarships, or I had the idea of scholarships and how they could help. I didn't know anything about flying scholarships or flight training scholarships. So I just went back to Google, found this organization, AOPA, Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. I I ended up applying for that scholarship the day before the deadline, and like 2 weeks later, I got a phone call. I won that scholarship, and it was for $5,000, and it was literally like a check for $5,000 straight to me, so I can pay for my flight training. And that's what I did. I used that money to finish or keep paying for my flight training, and that was actually in 2013. That was the first. I got that scholarship in 2013. I used that money actually to pay for my private pilot license before I got in the military, right? So then when I got done with the helicopter training in college, now now I'm that's when I started trading maintenance for flight hours. And I continued to search for more scholarships. I found now let's say we're in like 2017, 2018. I found another scholarship, Red Tail Scholarship Foundation in Tuskegee, Alabama. I applied for that scholarship, and honestly, like a year and a half, maybe a year to a year and a half went by, and I got that scholarship in 2019. And that scholarship is what I use to get my instrument rating. It's a rating for pilots to be able to fly in the clouds when you can't see outside. So now you're flying, you can't see where you're going, but you're able to navigate by just looking at your instruments, right? Your GPS and your different navigation instruments that you have in the airplane. I started working with that company or that organization, they're a nonprofit, got that scholarship, and then they were giving out scholarships to other student pilots to learn how to fly too. So I ended up starting a maintenance department for them as an aircraft mechanic. So I started this maintenance department, and that took off, and I was able to support myself and continue flight training by mainly by way of being connected with them. And so that was huge. That was real huge.
So it sounds like every step of the way is pretty much is leading you to where you are today,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's
each phase is equally important to, if not as important or more important than the previous one. So over the course of time, your definition of success has changed, right?
I would agree. Yes.
So can you delve into that a bit? I know that you've had different goals, you've wanted to attain different things at different times, but how did your idea, or what is your idea of success? How has that changed over time?
Yep. So my idea of success actually has changed over time. Currently, currently my idea of success is the the control, right? The control that you have with your time. Speaking of time. So I used to think that success was like, okay, how much money do I have, or how much money does this person have, and that'll now we'll see how successful I am or they are. And then, I've just growing and maturing. I'm 33 now, growing and maturing. Like, all right, that's really not a measure of success. Um, then I started thinking success was how many certifications you have, because like I'm a pilot, and I have all these certifications, as a pilot and an aircraft mechanic and inspector and stuff. But I realized that that's not really a measure of success. And this is my own personal view or definition of success. And most currently now, again, my measure of success is how much control I have over my time. So now I don't if I can't, you know, wake up and pursue my passion, whether I'm going to work to do it or not, whether I'm getting paid to do it or not, if I can't wake up and go pursue my passion, and I don't have any control over how much time and effort I can put into my passion, consistently and consecutively, then I would say that wouldn't be successful to me. But if I'm in a situation where, okay, I can wake up, I can pursue my goals, I can pursue my passion, again, whether or not I'm going to work to do it, I can focus on, spend time, energy, and effort on my goals and my passion, and I can do that consistently and consecutively, like working towards something, right? That next goal, that next uh, learning how to fly that next airplane, or learning how to get that next rating or endorsement for flying. Then that to me is success. So
Okay,
yeah, man.
good. When you think of success and what you want to accomplish, do you think about it in terms of what impact you want to leave behind? And if so, what are you doing to actively build upon your legacy?
I do. Well, when I think about success and uh, how I can leave something behind, or to leave something behind, again, with having control over my time being my idea of success. Now I want to be able to have a positive impact on the people around me, right? So my friends, my family, and the people in my community, the people that are close to me. So I started, like, for example, I started Tuskegee Chess Club in probably like 2018. I have a passion for chess, so I came to Tuskegee and there was nobody playing chess. I didn't have anybody to play chess with. Started a chess club. That turned into a community thing where we have kids, we have elders in the community bringing their grandkids, we have adults that are, even college students from Tuskegee University coming over to chess club and learning how to play chess, or they already know how to play and now they're playing chess. And we ended up getting into the high school, and now we're actually next weekend we're going as a official chess club at Tuskegee University, going to our first HBCU chess tournament in Atlanta. So one day I couldn't make it to chess club, right? And because like I had to work or something, and like a couple of my friends, and they still showed up, and then all the regulars that come through, and some of the people that bring their kids, or some of the older people that bring their grandkids to chess club, everybody showed up. So chess club still went on like normal. And now chess club goes on with or without me. And so it's like I started something that's greater than myself, and that's going to keep going. No, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Gavin Free. But that's pretty dope. You literally created something that has outlived you entirely. Um,
Yeah. And I want to do the same thing. I want to do the same thing in aviation, right? So the things that I have a passion for and that I love, like chess and flying, are the things that I want to use my time in order to create something that's gonna stay around even when I'm not there or after I'm long gone.
So listen to your whole story. What I loved about it is like you were really resilient. Like you made it happen. Like you found the scholarships. You were like, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna get it done. Which is dope in itself. And I was wondering, that simulator you were talking about earlier, do you remember what the name of it was? Like, was it kid friendly, or was it that your friend's dad was like a pilot and he just had easy access to it? Like
Yeah, it was software, so it was basically like it's like a game, even though it was a simulator, but it's basically like a game you download on your computer. It was X-Plane. So it was X-Plane downloaded on the computer, just like a regular at-home desktop computer, and then they had all of the airplane controls, like the yoke and the rudder pedals, and even the throttle levers too. And I mean,
X game you said it was called?
X-Plane, yeah,
Explain.
yeah,
Because I'm like, maybe I should introduce my son to that. That looks, sounds so cool. Like,
yeah. I'm sure it would like it. It's pretty
explain.
cool.
I'm literally writing it down right now so I don't forget it.
And now there's another one too, so you can write this one down too. It's called Flight Simulator X.
Flight Simulator X. Taking
Okay.
down the cheat code. Flight Simulator X. That's what's up. So,
All right.
like,
My
what
apologies,
does
guys.
I'm glad you're back. So
Yeah.
one more question, like what does it feel? Well, this is not the last question, but you know. What does it feel like to actually be in control of the plane? Like, do you ever get nervous? Like, were you nervous the first time compared to now? Like now, is it like driving a car for you? Like you just, you know?
That's a great question. So I fly a couple of airplanes right now regularly, and each of those planes that I fly, it is kind of like where I mean I take it seriously, and I don't take it for granted, because like when you're in the air, it's like you can't just like pull over and figure something out. So you got to have all your T's crossed, all your I's dotted, right? Everything's got to be in order. I follow procedure and stuff like that. But I say all that to say, it is kind of like driving a car, right? So like you have this car, you've had it for 3, 4, 5 years. You know what all the buttons do. You know how to drive this car. You know how much to turn it or how much to hit the brake if you want to stop slow or stop a little bit quicker, stuff like that. So I do have that feel to where I'm like one with these airplanes now, and I think to me, over time, they've become easy to fly and operate. And that's fun. So like if I'm flying in the air for 2 3 hours, and now I might want to listen to some music or listen to an audiobook or something like that.
Oh, you're getting confident now. You're like, oh, we can put our phone.
Yeah, I'm just chilling. Um, and what was the other part of that question?
Just like, do you feel scared like taking
Oh,
off, or do you get the
yeah.
butterflies or landing, or when the wind? Because one time I was flying to Chicago and the wind was so crazy that we had to divert. They diverted the plane and we landed in Detroit. And I was like, this was not my destination. So
Yeah.
like, do you get nervous when the wind like takes control of the plane?
No, no, I
No,
don't.
oh, you're daredevil.
But the main reason is because like I understand what's going on, right? And like how to deal with it.
That
And
makes sense.
at the same time, because I'm the pilot, I have control not to like get myself into a situation where it's like that bad to where now I'm nervous or I'm scared, like the airplane is gonna break or something like that. Like no, if the weather's that bad, I'm just not gonna fly into it. Just like that time when you were on the way to Chicago, but you diverted to like Detroit or something. It's like, yeah, the weather's so bad, we're not even gonna go into it. We'll just not fly. Or if we're already in the air and the weather's that bad to where I'm going, then I'm just gonna go a different way or not go there until all that weather clears up. But there's times when yeah, it's like windy or it might be rainy. I'm an instrument pilot, so I'm flying in the clouds and stuff like that, and you're getting bumped around. But again, I understand what's going on. A few of the airplanes that I fly, they're very well equipped with like storm radar, so I can see like storm cells and lightning strikes on the computer screen and where they are and stuff like that. The air traffic controllers, they do a great job helping us out. They'll tell us where the rain is. They'll literally tell us where the rain is, how much of it, like the intensity of it, where the lightning is, stuff like that. And if we have to go around it, they'll tell us like, all right, yeah, go whatever way you need to go, or we might recommend you do this. Some last guy did that, stuff like that. Um, Another thing is, flying the airplane. Honestly, is the that's the easy part. Like actually being in the airplane, controlling the airplane is very easy. It's not hard at all. And a lot of the work, a lot of the struggle, if you will, a lot of the time and effort that's required to become a pilot, it gets put in on the back end, like on the ground, right? When you're studying and you're reviewing and you're going over notes and going over systems and going over procedures for different airplanes, or somebody calls you up and say, hey, a client just bought this airplane. Like one of the clients that you fly for just bought this airplane. Now you gotta go and research that airplane. You gotta go read that airplane's manual and like learn its systems and learn how to fly it, stuff like that. Like that's where all the hard work is put in. So by time we actually get into the airplane, now it's just like, man, I didn't ran through these procedures, 100 times in my head. I ran through them 80 times, on the ground. I'm familiar with all the buttons. I know what everything does. So now it's just like, all right, I'm just sitting back, and now I know if I do this or do that, I'm gonna make the airplane do what I want it to do. And it's really just kind of like sitting back and enjoying the fruit of your labor by the time you're in the pilot seat. Because yeah, the planes mostly fly themselves.
Yeah, true. So like, I guess the other thing I was looking at, like, yes, you guys use GPS, but on the road, you have the GPS, but you also have the street signs. So when you're in the air, like, how do you know? Like I get the GPS, but like, is it really just solely based on the GPS? Like, what happens if technology goes haywire? Like, how are you getting to your destination? Like, how do you know that you're on the correct path?
Yep. So we have like a bunch of different ways that we can navigate as pilots, even without GPS. So GPS is one way, right? Like there's different GPS waypoints and intersections that we can fly to, GPS routes or highways in the sky that you can fly along, stuff like that. And without the GPS, like if all the satellites break and we can't use GPS, we don't have any GPS signal. We still have ground-based navigational aids. So we have different ground navigational aids that they're on the ground that we can use, that the airplane can receive signal from in order to get to where you're going. And then we also have our eyes, right? So we have these maps. Like this is actually a pilot map behind me. It's called a sectional chart, where like if you're flying outside and you see like, okay, I'm flying. Let's say I'm, I don't know, let's say I'm 10,000 feet in the air and it's clear skies. I can see outside and I see a lake. It's like, all right, well, if that's Lake Martin and I know I'm over Lake Martin, and according to my magnetic compass, I'm headed north, then I know Auburn's over to the right. So I look over to the right and I see Auburn. Then it's like, okay, I know where I'm at. So I see these things on the map. I see them with my own eyes and I have directional reference based on my compass. Um, just flying, looking outside. It's called pilotage. Just looking outside, looking on the map, getting to where you're going.
How do you avoid other planes? And are there blind spots when you're flying?
Yes. So a lot. Well, all airplanes have blind spots. Some less than others. One way we avoid airplanes is by seeing and avoiding. Right. So like if it's a clear day, it's actually the pilot's responsibility to look outside and see other airplanes and not run into them. And then if you're talking to air traffic control, which a lot of planes do, some don't, not because you don't have to, or you might be going in an area where there's no need to talk to air traffic control. You're still looking outside to see and avoid planes. And some pilots and have different resources that they can use. Like ForeFlight is one of them. Um, ForeFlight is something that like I use it. I fly with ForeFlight, so it'll show me on ForeFlight, which is it's a digital map, it's a digital chart, right? And so I have this map on ForeFlight, and then overlaid on the map is like live weather and live traffic, and it'll point out the traffic and tell me where it is, how high they're going, or how high they are, how fast they are, stuff like that. And so I'll mostly see them on the ForeFlight first, and then I can look up and start looking outside to see them before we get even relatively close to one another. Another way is some airplanes are equipped with TCAS. It's traffic collision and avoidance system. So a few of the airplanes that I fly have TCAS, and so like the airplane's talking to you and telling you where the traffic is and calling the traffic out. So that's pretty neat. And then also it shows up on the screen. You can Most of the time I'll see the traffic on the screen before I see them outside, and then I can look up and see them, and they'll be far enough away or high above me or way low, beneath me, so it's safe and stuff like that. But again, I still saw them on the screen first before I looked outside and saw them. Yeah, and then air traffic control. They're another great help and resource for calling out traffic. They can see everybody on their radar and in that area. If you're talking to air traffic control, they'll tell you, hey, you got traffic over here, or they might even tell you like, hey, turn 10 degrees to the right to avoid traffic and stuff like that. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give someone who's struggling to take their first step towards their passion in aviation?
Yep. Yep. My advice to somebody who's struggling to take that first step in aviation would be you have to decide if it's something that you really want to do or not, right? So if it's something that you don't want to do, then there's no need to waste any time or effort or energy or money on it, right? You can just go a different way, do something else. But if you decide that like, hey, this is something I really want to do, I'm scared, I don't know anybody, I don't know how to do it, I don't know what step to take, for that first step. My advice to them would to be to sit down, pray about it, and then you have to trust yourself, right? You have to believe in yourself. You have to think and know like, all right, I can do this. This is something that I decided that I want to do. I can do it, and I'm going to do it. I don't know how or when, but it's something I'm going to do. And believe it or not, things the right things will fall into place, and the right people will come into your path when you make that decision and you take that pledge with yourself, because you will start to make decisions that put you on the right path along your journey to get you where you need to be, right? For example, when I decided that I I'm going to go be a pilot, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know who to talk to, or like I didn't have any real steps to take, right? But I knew that if I could just get close to the airport, if I could just be at the airport or be close to people that are doing this on a regular basis, that's that's closer to my goal than I am right now, which is like at home wanting to be a pilot. And so I took that step. And then once every step that you take, you'll start to see the a good next step, right? So I kind of compare to like when you're at night, when you're on the highway at night and you're on a straight highway road at nighttime and you have your headlights on, you might not be able to see the road 5, 6 miles down the road. But if you're driving at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour and you have your headlights on, you can see the next, maybe 1, 2 thousand feet in front of you, right? Half a mile, maybe even a mile or so in front of you, and so the farther you go down the road, the more you'll be able to see farther down the road. But if you don't move, you'll only be able to see what's right in front of you, and you'll never be able to see what comes after that. So it's important to be able to, like I said, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and make that decision. And once you make that decision, you'll start to position yourself and you'll start to make choices that put you in the right environment and either put you around the right people or even better, introduce you or put you in the path of the right people, to get to that next step. And once you get to that next step, you'll be able to see a little bit farther down the road. And that's the journey, right? Like that's the secret. That's the journey. And it's every time you take a step, you can see a little bit farther. You take another step, you can see a little bit farther. Even if sometimes it's going to be hard, there's going to be every step's not going to be difficult. Every part of the journey is not going to be impossible or so difficult to where it makes you want to feel like you can't do it or you maybe don't want to do it no more. But you'll you'll see like even if I'm even if I take my time during this part of the journey, or if I take a pause during this part of the journey to gather myself or learn something, right? Or do this part over because I want to be better at it. There's still that next step that's on your radar that you can see. So it's like, all right, that's what I'm working towards. That's what I have as motivation to get past this point, and then I'm gonna get to that point. And once you get to that next point, a whole nother field opens up of stuff that you didn't see before. So now you have something else to work towards to and keep going. And before you know it, a month will have passed, a year will have passed, 2 years, 10 years, and you'll be in places and doing things that you didn't imagine that you would have been doing at the beginning or the start of that journey. And that's one of the most rewarding parts of it. And that's I'm speaking personally for myself and my aviation journey, but in general, this applies to anybody along any journey that they're thinking about taking. Right? That's one of the I think that's one of the most rewarding parts about it is you're scared, you don't see how to get to where you want to go, you don't think you have everything, but you just take one step and then that's going to lead to the next step and the next step. And then, 2, 4, 5 years later, 10 years later, you're like, man, I'm glad I took that step. And, and that sometimes it happens on the daily and sometimes it happens every once in a while, but it's always a blessing to be able to look back and reflect on, where you started and where you are now. And anybody at any point of their journey can do that. And at any point of anyone's journey, they can look forward and see a part of that next step, just like we talked about.
So
It,
speaking of all the gems that you've gathered throughout your journey, what would you say is it doesn't have to be the most pivotal, but what is one pivotal lesson that you've experienced that helped shape your journey?
the the ability and the willingness to be self-taught, right? So like if you're not if you're not willing to learn how to, if you don't already know how to teach yourself something or learn something by yourself, if you're not willing to learn how to become self-taught, then then a lot of things are going to be more difficult to you. Not just aviation to learn how to fly, right? And so I realized along my aviation journey that everything that I know is is not something that somebody taught me. Everything that I have to learn is not going to necessarily be something that somebody tells me or teaches me. There's a lot of times in my aviation journey, I found myself having to teach myself stuff. And I'm not talking about like just like coming up with the knowledge in my head on my own and then now I have it. It's like no, like exposure, right? Doing something over and over and over and over and over and over and over to the point where it's like, oh, every time I do it, I learn something new, or I see it from a different angle, or I'm able to get better at it. Now I'm so good. Now I can talk while I'm doing it. Now I can explain to you what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Um, to so that for an example, another example would be um as you're studying or you're any part of this journey, as you're studying or you're coming across information and you don't understand something or you don't know something, you write it down. So like form a question around it, like what is this, what does that mean, where is that, how do I do that, where can I find it, whatever the question might be. You form a question around that thing and you write that question down. And what'll happen is, and this is part of being self-taught and teaching myself stuff. You write that question down, and then what'll happen is, over the course of that study, you might come across some information that'll connect the dot to that question. So now you might answer your own question, over the course of your continued studies, or maybe not. Maybe that won't happen. Maybe you might be around somebody that is farther along than you are. They have more experience, than you do, or a teacher or somebody, and then you have this question from your studies that you didn't know or you didn't understand, and instead of you trying to remember what it was you didn't know or didn't understand, you already have it written down. So that's kind of like a shortcut in minimizing or completely avoiding gaps in your learning, right? Figuring out acknowledging what it is that you don't know or you don't understand, forming a question around it, writing it down, and then going down the road to get that question answered, whether it's calling somebody, talking to somebody, reading other stuff, watching videos, YouTube, and around the answer into that question. And then let's say you come up with the answer through your own studies. Now you can go confirm your answer with somebody else, again, who's more knowledgeable and who has a lot more experience than you do. Like, hey, I was studying, I came across this thing, I didn't understand it, and I came up with this question, and then this is my answer to that question. What do you think about this? Is this correct? Does this make sense? Am I missing something? Is there more? And that was it. If the challenge about that became when I didn't know that I had to be self-taught, but then my journey became easier once I knew, like, oh, okay, I have to be self-taught, and not in everything, right? But you have to have, that's one of the skill sets that you want to have in life in general, but especially in aviation, and that kind of made the journey a little bit easier, because the challenges that came about, it's still a challenge nevertheless, but now I have a practical approach. Now I know how to go about beating this challenge. Yeah.
So, did the notion of becoming self-taught, was it that part of self-discovery? Did someone lead you down that path? That's not a trait that's normally picked up on one's own. So how did you develop that trait?
Yeah, man. I don't. So I am very grateful. I've always been this way. And nobody taught me how to be self-taught. I just realized that I've always been this way, and then I was able to put some action and some intention behind it, right? But even as a kid, I was self-taught. For example, I would be able to look at people, and I'm talking like 5 and 6 years old. I would be able to look at people and go, okay, they have something that I want to have. And then I would say, well, what are they doing? What are they doing right now? Like, what do they eat? What do they work? What do they read books? And it was like, okay, do they exercise? All right, so they exercise, I'm gonna exercise. They read books, I'm gonna read books. So it was basically just like it's basically I basically became like this copycat artist where it's like if you're doing something that I want to do, I'm gonna watch you and figure out what it is that you're doing that enables you to have that thing or do that thing that I want to do. And then I'm gonna start doing that stuff. And if I don't know how to do that stuff, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna watch you do that stuff, and then I'm gonna figure that part out, right? So, and then in I was also, so that's kind of like reverse engineering a little bit. Um, I would also be able to look at
Definitely.
I would also be able to look at people and say like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want to be in that situation or have what they have. So now I'm able to look at them and observe and then not do the things I see them do. So it's like, all right, they have that and they're going through this, and I don't want to have that or go through that. And I'm watching what they're doing. So now I'm not going to do those things because in my mind as a little kid, my observations lead me to believe that if I do the things that you're doing, I'm going to get the things that you're getting. And so I was doing that as a kid. And then again, like I'm saying, as I grew older, I started putting more like thought and intention around that behavior or trait, whatever you want to call it. And it's just like, I don't think that that's normal, but I don't think it's like some kind of like superhero thing. I just think that it's like, maybe it's like a different way of thinking, right? But I'm very grateful that I've always been that way. And that's kind of how I'm self-taught. That was my approach to being self-taught,
That's
being,
pretty dope. You're like
yeah.
an undercover little genius. And also, as you were talking about it, I was thinking about Gavin because he's always telling me how like you don't have to buy a course to learn something. Like you could literally teach yourself.
Yeah,
And
he's right.
I'd be quick to want the cheat code. I'm like, yeah.
I'm telling you, the cheat code is being self-taught. That's the cheat code.
Yeah, I hear you guys. Like you guys are really onto something. Like y'all really hit that on the nail. Um, That's awesome. That is awesome.
Like,
And that is not like, I think being able to observe the world around you and make observations, not everyone is able to do that. Like some people, I don't know, I feel like they walk around with their heads down and they're not really paying attention to the world around them and how it works. So the fact that you were able at such a young age to observe people and be like, what you're doing doesn't work. And I feel like some people do have that, and some people just don't. I don't know.
no,
So
you're
yeah,
right. You're right.
go for that. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I think that's something that we can teach. I think it's something that's definitely teachable or people can learn. And I think a part of like me being, I don't know, some kind of like chess coach or like chess influencer in my community where I started chess club. That's something that I kind of help kids with, right? So it's like you have all these choices. So now if you come up with something this idea that you want to do, now let's brainstorm what options we have to go about accomplishing that thing. And it's about being creative and being able to see, you know, being able to see something that'll lead you toward accomplishing that, whether it's somebody else doing it or even if you come up with a vision of yourself doing it. The mind doesn't know the difference between actuality and imaginary. So all you have to do is see somebody do it, whether it's you envisioning yourself doing it or you actually seeing somebody else do it. That's all it takes, and then you're like, all right, bet I'm now I can. It's now I'm gonna go bring it to fruition.
That's
Yeah,
dope. That's
yeah.
dope. So with all that you've experienced, everything that you learned, like if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be and why?
I think it's gonna be I'm gonna be remembered for that man who tried, because that's really all I know how to do is try. You know, everything that I've been able to accomplish or have been able to do is always stemmed from just me taking a shot at something and sticking with it. So, and I try to encourage other people to do that, and to also, create opportunities for other people to do that too. And that's gonna be the main thing, as the guy who took that shot, or the guy who helped me take that shot. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I think that really brings us to the end of our questions. Um, is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap it up? Anything like you could think of in terms of what someone who's a teenager may be able to walk away with from you or from having this experience? Because I'll tell you right now, as a kid who grew up in the city of New York, I did not have access to flight simulators. And although technology is like super advanced these days, I don't know what that pathway would look like as much as you would. And I guess so the educator in me would want to know in order to share it with adolescents. Like what pathway would you take if one wanted to become an aviator?
Yep. Honestly, so nowadays, man, with our cell phones and social media, we're even closer now to these things that we want to do than I would say we were, like, back maybe when we were young kids. And so with that, I would encourage, young kids and teens to uh take advantage of that. Venture out, reach out to people, and be willing to meet and connect with people that are or in the fields and doing the things that you're passionate about and that you want to do. Whether you want to be a firefighter or a pilot, or if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor. There's people in your community that are doing these things. You may not know them, right? But they're there. And obviously, there's people in the world that's doing this stuff that are on social media. You might not know who they are, but there are people out there that are doing that. And you make it a point to connect with these people, right? So if they're in your community and they're just outside 5 miles up the road, right in your own town, then you figure out who those people are and you make it a point to connect with them. And if you don't have anybody in your community that's doing something that you want to do, then you also have social media and you have friends and family that you can talk and ask, like, hey, do you know anybody that's doing this? Do you know anybody that's doing that? You find them on social media, and again, you make it a point to connect with those people. And what you'll find, and I'm speaking from experience, what you'll find is there are so many people that are more than willing to show you the ropes, take you under their wing, put you in position, put you in place where you have opportunity now to pursue that goal, pursue that passion, that you want to do, just because you found them and they're convinced that you're serious about and you're passionate about what it is that you want to do and why you connected with them. That's real life, man. And I think a lot of opportunity a lot of opportunities go, or I'll say a lot of opportunities kind of go unspoken for because people don't ask, or they don't reach out to people who are willing, right? And sometimes people who have the resources or the willingness to set up a camp or set up some kind of a foundation to where they can create opportunities for other people in the community, that's cool, but that's not always the case. Sometimes people have the resources and the willingness to help you out and create opportunity, but they're just like a door, or they're just like this, I don't know, like little uh robot, like from I, Robot with Will Smith, when he was talking to the robot and he was asking the question, the robot was like, you didn't ask me the right question. But if you just ask these people like questions, or you knock on the door, nine times out of 10, it might not be the first door that'll open for you or the first question that'll the answer will be yes to, but you just keep seeking, right? You just keep seeking, and what you want will find you. I
That's
hope.
it. That was good. That was so good. Like, I can't wait till everyone starts watching these videos and they see your video. Like, they're gonna get so many gems, especially if they do want to become a pilot or they just want to learn how to like study on their own and teach them to become self-taught. Like, sometimes you just need to be told, break down the steps the way you did, and you reverse engineered it to a point where it's like, maybe I have done that once or twice. Like it gets people thinking when you actually breaking down to steps. Because sometimes people say I'm self-taught, and other people may think of it like, oh, I don't know, I'm just struggling in that department.
Yeah, yeah,
So I appreciate the way you broke it down, like everything you said, everything, the feedback that you provided, everything you said. This was awesome. This was so amazing. Like, thank you so much for taking the time to like join us today and share your knowledge. Like, I feel like the community needs more of that. We just need to be open about what we're doing and just sharing it so that we can all grow and be successful. So thank you so much for your contribution.
yeah. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. And I just want people to know that I'm an open resource too. If people, I know people have all kinds of questions, or they just want to connect with somebody that's already in there doing a thing, and if I can just see them or hear it from them, that'll be a huge help. Like, I want people to know that I'm that guy too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm doing it, and if me just answering your questions or pointing you in the right direction or helping you brainstorm different ideas to get you going or take that first step, I want to I want to be that person to help you, because there were so many people that were that person for me.
That's good. So where can they find you if people have questions about how to become a pilot and they want to like shoot you a text or what's your handle on Instagram? Let them know.
Yep. So my handle on Instagram is eyeflyguyrod. Eyeflyguyrod. EYE fly guy rod. And people, you can hit me up on Instagram. I'm not a social media influencer, right? So I don't have a,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
I don't have 100,000 followers, and I'm not posting daily, but I'm definitely active. Everybody's watching. It's so funny on Instagram too. Everybody's seeing the same videos. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so funny. Your friends like it and all that stuff. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely active. If somebody reaches out to me on Instagram, more than willing to connect and help out. However I can to again just be the catalyst to help somebody along their journey.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for following your dreams and making it a reality. Because if without that, we wouldn't be here talking about it. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm appreciative. I thank you for that acknowledgement and recognition. That I think that's huge. Yeah.
That is huge.
So
Well,
respect.
thank you everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Make sure you guys subscribe and comment below some of the stuff that you learned. What's the gem that you're going to apply to your own life and dreams? And thank you again.